Namaste and welcome. Yeah, I was having a talk. Lori and I were talking just a little while ago, and I'm grateful for that. I'm always grateful for mighty companions because they're bringing into awareness the things that need to be seen with Jesus. And the real happiness of this is that whatever Jesus says about it, whether he says, yes, you still have that desire, or no, it's cleared. It's happy news both ways. Because we know he's with us to help us. If he says, yes, you still have that desire below your level of awareness, but we know the solution's been provided by the Father, the miracle. And we were talking about figuring out the world or what we're going to do next. And again, I'm really happy that conversation came up because that was the whole play here. To figure it out. And I can remember thinking, if I can just understand more about life, but the idea of life was biology. If I could just know more information, like life and about turtles and frogs and anything that moved, like I was really, from very young, like very attracted to my kindergarten or first grade or second grade, really early on, science project was an insect collection. The insects of the world. And I remember going to school. I was probably about 5. I was walking to school and I had like a glass peanut butter jar about this big, and it was filled with bugs. And I was walking and I dropped it and I cried my eyes out. And the lady who found me was so worried, she said, honey, you're okay. Nothing happened, but my bugs are escaping. My bugs are going, I didn't care about the glass. I wanted my bugs not to be. And I had an important mission to bring those to school. And you just see the innocence in that. To be fascinated, the fascination for the beauty of what's appearing before us, the infinite light that's before us. But then, so that was like the beginning of the scientists at the high analytical, to try, and that was just one of the plays in consciousness to kind of hide from love. If I could just figure it out, because and I was in college in the early first years, you were still using slide rules. And then it was calculator. It was some of the first handhelds came out when I went to college, and I could calculate it. And then I could be a scientist, I can't even find that. That was one of the desired experiences. To sweat it out in college. To take calculus was a desire. Geez, oh yeah. And see that none of it is bad. There's no, God doesn't judge us for whatever these little adventures are that we want to have. We're judging ourselves. Today we were looking at the desire for the experience for self-judgment, the relishing. And I can see how the spirit would work with, that trying to figure things out in the world. and that it can't be figured out. He was already teaching intuition. Even then, he says, yes. So like my first job was selling radioactive compounds and research, to go to research facilities. I'm just asking, is this helpful? He goes, yes, it's for me. So I guess I must need to use this. I haven't really thought about this in a long time. And, but I can see it was like really the spirit working through, because so part of the function, you try to figure out what your competitors were doing. You see how much fun we're having in consciousness, figuring out what the competition's doing. So you'd go to every institution, all these research institutions like in Houston, Baylor, and MD Anderson Hospital, and you go into their little, the radiation safety department was always down in the basement. There must be some parallel here. Down in the basement. And then I would hand count all the orders that would come in, so you could try and figure out, okay, is it New England Nuclear? Who has them? Who has the market share? I mean, that's what consciousness likes to do. But after a while, it was just, I didn't have to do it. I knew what it was, like without looking at a sheet, because we already know what it is. He's already teaching how to use intuition, that intuition was valued. Tapping into super consciousness. That's where intuition is, in super consciousness. Now, intuition can be used to play in the world, or it can be used as the beeline back to infinite, to reunification of consciousness. We can use intuition to read the Akashic records. Who cares, though? When you see that you're light, you're not going to be interested in the Akashic records. What would a light being need with the Akashic records? I don't know why that came in, but Jesus says, because it's helpful. What does a light being? He's trying to keep it as simple as possible for us to stay out of the play. Stay with the looking. That's what he's saying. Stay with the looking and stay out of the play. That's why you need like little cocoon places. Now, the ego doesn't like little cocoon places like Living Miracles or Coming Here, because the ego likes to go out and stay in studying find out what happened in past lives that didn't happen. It's trying to study what never happened to find out more, to be a better person. Do you see that? To try to prove what never happened. And then it gets in an argument about whether there's Akashic records or there's, another past life, or what Jesus said. And if I'm asking him carefully if I can make this comment. He says, yes, whether he's the son of Buddha. Don't spend time on that. It doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve anything. Spend time what's here, meditating as light, so that go empty-handed to God. Is there light here? And let the light speak to you, reveal itself. Lesson 44, and let's stay together in a moment of light. And then look at the denials, all the desires, just go through them. I'm asking him, is there a better use of time? There is not a better use of time. This isn't. Do I have to go learn things? Do I have to? No, you can ask them so you can hear them too. Will you take care? And that was so phenomenal when he said, I was reading the text, I will take care of the minutia. And more, you just go, can you take care of this? For me, I don't want to do it. You'll see. I don't want to get involved. You just go faster and faster. Okay, Jesus, what am I doing here? And you say yes. And you're going, what exactly was I fighting them for on this? Why was I? Because we like the fight, we like we like to compete against ourselves. Remember, there's no one to compete against. All of consciousness loves, it's a play in consciousness. It's not bad or good, to go to a football game and watch competition. It's all a play in the mind, though, until you see you can't have any peace, all the yelling and screaming, it's so bad. What are you doing? So we make up the game. Ask them, Jesus, stop making up the game with all the characters down there on the football field and then getting all wrapped up about who's winning and who's losing. There's no peace in that. And then you can't wait. And then there's an argument. Who's going to win this season? Who's going to lose? Yet at the same time, here comes Spirit with a bunch of football movies that are excellent wake-up movies. So it's good to ask him, Jesus, does figuring it out work? Can I figure out one thing? You find out you're not going to. It's like, what does light have to do with figuring something out? That's a really good thing to see. I'm so glad that topic came up so I can look deeply. Jesus, are there any little remnants of trying to figure it out? Like, I get to the point where I just tell, okay. Effortless. He's reminding me, effortless. Let it be effortless. It's effortless. I'm just going to tell you everything you need to know. Effortless. Just let it come. Well, we're making up a whole world. Why wouldn't it? I mean, we just don't like believing that we did that. That's okay. I admit it, Jesus. And then you just laugh. Oh my gosh, so much happy laughter. You sitting in those circles. We're all sitting in those circles. We ask Jesus, do I have? And he says yes. And then we all laugh because we all hear you. But you see that he's with you all the way. He's with us all the way. He knows we're addicted to the play. If you ever seen the movie The Nines, it's a good one for showing how, oh my gosh, it shows all the different characters and all the different plays to forget divinity, and comes at the end, just snaps his little wristband and poof. Even the play of, oh, things are not going to be the same or good without me. Things are always better without the you. You can ask Jesus. Things aren't good with the you or an I in there. Let's just ask. With a sharpened pencil, we're going to sharpen our pencil and figure this out. But it's really good to hear that you just start relaxing more and more. You take more and more things to Jesus and just see how it works out. You can always abandon Jesus. We've been doing that for a minute. We can just check it out and just see how that goes. But as soon as there's that decision in mind to go all the way and unrelenting, that's self-value. And the kerfuffles come and, whatever, and you'll be mad and you'll stomp your feet. That's a play. But then you're onto it. You see that who's powering that engine. You start to see that's the turn. I'm choosing this misery. I'm relishing this, aren't I? And they keep showing you how much there's the relishing. Oh my God, that is so precious. And you'll be going, again, really? Again. Just keep going. Don't just ignore the rest of it. It's going, just be happy when he shows you so that it just clears out the dust bunnies, as Desi would say, the dust bunnies of consciousness. You can marinate as the light. It's a beautiful thing. And it'll reveal itself. It's really, drop every thought and idea like Muji talks about. It's just that it will not be consistent. You'll see it. That that's just becomes a realization. It cannot be consistent as long as there's a desire. All the desires that he lists is in A Course in Miracles. That is the playbook. And then he, for me, he helped me with the Reader's Digest version so I could see it. I need, it had to be really obvious. All the desires I had to say no to God. I had to put it right here. It's like, oh. But I'm so grateful for him for doing that for me, You see all the love in that. For him to just put it right there where he couldn't run like a rat down a hole. Because I asked for it. You can see we're asking for this. We're asking not to be in the play anymore. And the mind was really open at that point, from contemplating light with Muji, really, that helped open up a lot. And following, it was, he's pointing to that. He's saying, yes, it was the following me, and listening to me and saying no to the ego. And he says purification first. You need the purification because we so don't believe we're worthy of miracles. That's why he says they're needed. Everyone's entitled to miracles. We don't believe we deserve them when they're natural to us. We need these kind of not knowing what anything's for experiences. Where they're kind of jaw droppers. They're jaw droppers. They're natural to us, but we're so in the unnatural of trying to figure things out and analyze. So we need these experiences in form that just seem so out of time and space. Like, how did that? I don't even know how that happened because we think we know how things are happening. And he's reminding me of this time that I think I was either coming or going to see Muji. So many miracles, like in Portugal. You can just tell you're on that track because just out of time and space things with the travel and, just as soon as I went to Muji, it was, it was like on a runway. And Living Miracles, when I first went to Living Miracles too, you could see that. And then really going to follow my heart, following the guidance to go see Muji. And so I'm in Portugal, and he knows. See, we all know. I've already talked about how I just didn't like traveling by myself. So here I am traveling by myself. Do you see? The ego makes the scenarios not to like. Doesn't matter. So speak no Portuguese and walk down to a park. I wanted to go down to a park, and then all of a sudden I was so thirsty. How am I going to go get water? And there's like one word that I knew. In Spanish, probably, maybe I knew 5, I don't know, not many. And I heard it, and same in Portuguese, agua. And it was like about 2. Now I'm walking around going, I wonder how I can get water. And I hear a lady talking to a man and saying the word agua over there. And I'm asking him. So then there was a prompt to go over there. See, the K wouldn't have asked for help, but the following, then you go over and say, and I don't even know how we communicated because I couldn't speak Portuguese at all. But somehow the lady understood I was looking for water. She says, here, I'll take you. So she takes me by the hand virtually down to a store and helps me go through the store and buy the water. And then we have I don't know how it happened. I don't know how I understood, but I understood enough to find out that she was a professor at the university there. in Lisbon. It was just the most beautiful holy encounter without being able to speak a language. You know, and it was for me to see that we're carried by angels when we start following the prompts that he's going to take care of. He's reminding me, he's telling me, yes, that's how I'm taking care of the minutia for you. Like you needed water, and there it was. You have to trust the prompt. See, if I go, oh, I can't go up to those ladies over there and say, you know, I don't speak the language. If all that plays in consciousness, then we won't have those holy encounters. And he's showing me right now how I didn't know I mean, Botard, I mean, bom dia, a couple of Portuguese words, that's about it. And then now I remember he's showing me how I just understood just virtually the whole conversation. She's working there, her husband was there, and she in a different place, and they were living in two the different locations. Now, how do you get out? And she had to be in Lisbon by herself, and you know, if it's a holy encounter, it's like the means are provided. It was lovely. It was just absolutely lovely. But it's reminding me how much we truly fear what we've made, the miscreation, how much we really fear that. And I could see it, you know, the tentativeness about going to all these different cities seemingly by quote unquote by myself was a desire to feel alone and that I wouldn't be helped. And then to show that when you start following, you do get the help. You see, the help's always there because Jesus is with us all the time. And then as we listen more and more and we clear the miracles through the forgiveness, we become more and more willing for his help. See, and then the figuring it out, you see, it doesn't work anyway. It was just an idea. I can see this is all for me to see. That even with the high analytical scientists, which is a way to hide from love. See, because you could get away from people and go, you know, figure things out in the lab. You figure out the world in a test tube. But even that's used by spirit. Yeah, and he's showing me this too. So he was just showing me all along about how to use intuition, because then I was working for a scientific company, several scientific companies, and trying to come up with products for biotechnology. Now that's as high tech as for research, scientific research. And, you know, so you'd forecast your product sales. He's just showing me how none of those are all ideas. But that was, you know, you had a forecast, you had to know. That's what the consciousness loves to do to create a future. It's going to forecast what your product sales are going to be. And he's telling me now so the forecasts were always, and you try to take a spreadsheet, but you can't. New product sales, I mean, well, he says you can't figure it out anyway, you just think you can. But anyway, the forecasts were always within 5%. Like, how do you know that? Brand new products or whatever. It's just intuition. You can't figure anything out. It's the play in consciousness to try to figure things out, and then 10 months later, pretend like time passed, and then go, oh, I did a good job on that forecast. You know, I actually did something. There's nothing that can be figured out. Ask Jesus in the light of divine being and honesty of God. It's consciousness playing in consciousness to learn about consciousness. You know, to learn about how genes work, how genes express. And it was fascinating. I was fascinated by it. You know, how science figured out things, how diseases would get, you'd find a cure. Until Jesus gets hold of you and shows you the only cure is going to be infinite. And seeing that you're infinite now and you really can't figure anything out at all. And you can't be happy as long as you think that there's something to figure out. It's just impossible. But he's going to lead us through it, you know, step by step, because he knows that's the habit. It certainly was here, like I've said before, the master of spreadsheet, you know, and teaching decision making in corporations, how to make a decision. And he understands that's how consciousness plays. And then he just works with them to go to him for every decision rather than figuring anything out. And then you start getting hooked on it because you see, oh, I don't have to spend time on that anymore. What to do. He means it. That's experience. Everything he said in the course and by my experience has been true. I can't, there's nothing in there that he said that I haven't gone, no, Jesus, and by the way, you're wrong. I can't say that about a single line in the course. Not one. And that's the end of all suffering, spending the time with him to go through, well, Jesus, a new covenant is a condensed, that condensation of a course for direct looking and really learning how he is in charge of miracles. See, because you can't, the ego would try to figure out a miracle if he could. See, it's all concepts. It's trading one concept for another concept. This is a better set of, the ego loves that. This is a set of better concepts than this set. Like when the play of consciousness for which football teams are going to win. He's bringing that into mind, you know, and then you have a commentary on it. Well, this team has all these things and this team has all that team. You can ask them, does that have anything to do with what actually is happening? Well, Jesus said nothing's happening. It's just a play within consciousness to have something arise and then have a relationship with it, a horizontal relationship with what's appearing in form, to get involved in it. And nothing's wrong with that. Until we take it seriously, we forget to laugh about it. So we feel that it's doing something to us, to an I. When as soon as an I arises, it's something can happen to. It's the highway to hell. You can ask him, Jesus, do I actually have an I? An I is a thought that arises. And then it's like consciousness. It's a thought believed. You just seeing the light doesn't have an I in there anyway, anywhere. No eyes in light. Jesus, thank you for showing us. I'm very, very grateful that he I even asked him questions about miracles. You can see it. He did. I have posted the notes that I was typing, and you'll see how he worked with me to start teaching me and having a conversation with him about desires. And, when I'd be upset about something, and I would just talk to him and type the note. I'd just type what he said. Yes, I have a desire for that, Jesus. Yes. Well, what in this desire too? And I have this one and this one and this one. And he just worked with me all the way through the desires. Is there anything else to see? And I could hear him say no. So exactly, he was teaching me exactly what, through just the typing the conversations, what to look at and how to look. What I didn't realize is how much looking is needed. But it doesn't matter, because once the decision is made, and it is a decision in mind to look at everything, and that's the way out, then you won't want to do anything else. You'll see it. You just won't want to do anything else other than follow him and look at everything. Because you'll see the experience is infinite happiness, just as he promises. As he says, you just even type in that book. I had no, you can't even see the depth of it while it was just pouring out. I don't know where it was coming from. Well, it was coming from him. But when he put on the last page, because who with this many desires could ever rest in peace? And see, we don't even, because there's so many desires running ramshod, we don't even see where we're not at peace. We have to be trained. We have to be trained, so much light training and mind training to actually get to the point where we catch those little twitches. See, we think we're not at peace when we're yelling and screaming, which that's kind of obvious, so it's helpful. But you see, the catacombs are screaming. So even though we see that we're light, it's okay. It's just light. It's nothing. It's just seen as nothing, because we're so far away from the like Muji calls it, when you marinate as light, it's like a fruit. It gets sweeter and sweeter. Because it does, it washes out. Because when you're marinating as light, you're not investing in the delusion of diving into the bubble. So you're staying as light, which is very helpful. It's just to get to the catacombs, he's offering his assistance. Because you'll see it, you could watch it, and you'll just watch your mind when you try to just marinate as light, and just notice all the, the space debris that starts flying. Oh, you'll be in the middle of the beehive really quickly. And the beehive, see, and then, so Jesus is taking us to the power plant. I can't emphasize that enough with desire. He says, no, you cannot emphasize this enough. Desire is the power plant of thought. You can ask them. So by releasing it, it's the power plant of the fractionation of consciousness through desired experience to feel separate from source. There is no other higher function than this direct looking. You can ask them and see if you can find it. But you just got to hang on to your mighties, because you'll just see the play. I mean, you won't see it while it's happening, because we fall asleep. And we don't see that our behavior is of the sleeping one. We don't see that we're asleep, how often we're in the snooze button. That's why he's saying, come to me, come to me, come to me, come to me, come, because it keeps us on the light. So we're in the wake up alarm all the time, rather than the snooze button. the little trance of unhappiness, the unhappiness trance. We don't even see we're in that because it's part of the plane consciousness not to see it and not to follow. So that's why we keep going to him, it'll break that catching it breaks the trance. And then following the following, like I say, those time and space rearrangements that we need to see. That this is coming from, you can ask them, when your time and space rearrangements, this is coming from beyond time and space. It's beyond synchronicity. A lot of beings talk about synchronicity. It's so far beyond that. When he is arranging time and space, he's telling me directly, this is so far beyond synchronicity. He says synchronicity is a smidgen compared to that, what's offered in support. That's not a small statement, actually. That's not a little statement. I'm just clarifying. Just going to clarify that. Yes. This is so far beyond synchronicity. It's like that's a tinker toy. This is alignment with divine, the movement that this comes from beyond form. But without the like he said, without the mind being purified enough, without enough forgiveness to be open enough to accept the prompt and step into it and then stay with the assignment all the way. Because the ego is going to be screaming abort the whole time. Abort, 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 abort. Just stay with the assignment all the way. And then you ask them, is this assignment complete? Especially if you're given an assignment with another being. Like chapter 20, and you're given that assignment and you can just have fun with it at night. Write down all the ways that, ask Jesus to tell you all the ways you avoided not stepping into that assignment. Or did I? You can just have a talk with them. If it's your assignment from him. All the ways things will crop up during the day, not to set aside that time, 1 45-minute session for the direct route to supreme happiness. 1:45 for the direct route to supreme happiness and being able to hear that voice like a bell. We're talking, it's complete worthiness. It's the only worthiness to foster the relationship with the one who knows. No, Jesus, I have too many things to do in my day other than to see I'm an infinite being. Wow. I get it because I fought the whole thing tooth and nail. Somehow it works out. He does find his way. But just notice the play of all of a sudden. And I saw that too, and he knows it, how many times, how many course lessons where it was the end of the day and it's like, oh, I didn't even think about this all day long. But if you ask him, he's saying, yes, I will arrange time and space for you so that you can focus on these lessons. Because the excuse is always, I have too much to do. I'm just asking, is chapter 20 a priority? Yes, it's the highest priority. He says there's not a higher priority for a course student. Because it is the direct looking with him. It is having him in his full function as head of the atonement. It is learning that how important it is and how valuable it is to have him control every single miracle. How helpful, how direct. How valuable it is to be able to hear his voice in fullness, our own voice. And for those other voices, the beehive voices, to just quiet down. And they will quiet down when the desires are released, because the desires fuel the voices. See, that's fueling all the hell voices. And as the desires fall away, it just gets quieter and quieter in there. We're so worthy of God and his kingdom. We are God's kingdom. He just says, all is well, all is well. We're together. So it feels like there's a joining session coming up. So we'll just post that. Spontaneous joining in light. So you can share your experiences talking to Jesus or asking Jesus questions. You know, we love it. We love to hear our brothers speak Jesus's voice. It's a great gift. So we'll have a joining session. Maybe it'll be tomorrow. We'll see the timing come in. And he's encouraging, yes, he's reminding me to remind everyone to jump the joins, really just jump them. With the slightest twitch. Anytime you have a thought about something that you think you're going to decide to do. Just join on it with your brother and pray and hear it. He says, you will find great comfort in this. Oh, Marleya, that's so lovely. Thank you for that question. So there's a joining in light miracle worksheet that was given by Jesus for how to join with a brother when you're in upset, to clear an upset. And you just follow the worksheet. And if you're not in the Joining Light Brigade, a lot of these resources can be found in two places, the Joining in Light Brigade, and they can also be found on the Joining Light website. You just go joininglight.net and you just see a list. Here's a list of resources. And one of them is the Joining in Light Miracle Worksheet, how to talk to Jesus specifically, how to ask him for help, and how to join with a brother. And then there's a Facebook Messenger group that specifically, we're Mighty Companions, and I'll check, Marleya, to see that you're on there. It's specifically, it's not for social sharing or the typical, things. It's really only for joining partners, or we announce when there's going to be the joining teams. The Joining in Light Brigade team comes together to watch movies together, or we have a Joining in Light session to talk to Jesus. Those are posted there. Or Mighties can put questions for Jesus on that, and they can also share when there's a desire come up. They can put it out there and just say, I have this desire, and they can't find a joining partner. Or even if they do, sometimes it's very helpful if you're guided by Jesus and he's shown you through a desire to post it on the Light Brigade, what Jesus told you, or put it in that little messenger group. And if you want to be part of that messenger group, then you just text us at the center and we'll add you. I mean, in our heart, Jesus is saying, yes, we feel like he's available 24/7. So we want to support it so that there's opportunity 24/7 to try and find a joining partner that will jump a join. We call it jump a join. To clear desires with Jesus and learn how to be coached by him through miracles. And he's speaking to everyone. I don't think there's anyone who hasn't started hearing Jesus. Well, you can hear him now, because whenever you ask, is in the light of divine being, honesty of God is the light here, who do you think answers that? That's the voice for God that knows we're light. So yeah, we'll have that joining session. And also it's a good place to come if you're not sure you can hear Jesus. And you want more clarity on hearing Jesus. It'll happen right then and there, right in that group. Because that's his promise to us. So thank you, Jesus, for bringing us together and reminding me of all the things I need to remember, the truth, and all the things I need to forget. He said, forget this world. He says, your place is with me. Your only place is with me. Just as the Father made you infinite, complete, and holy. This world doesn't need you. There's an idea that, Jesus, do I desire an experience where I think the world needs me and then it doesn't need me at all? You ever notice that swinging back and forth? I'm not needing, the world would be better if I was dead, those sorts of plays. It's just a way that the ego plays to feel small. It's helpful to see that you're infinite. So thank you, Jesus, for reminding us that we're infinite and to start with light always. And to look, he says, look with me. Do not interpret anything without me. You don't have, oh, all right. You don't have the ability to do it. You do not have the ability to interpret anything. And it's not your function to interpret. You have to learn that your function is not interpretation. I said, so Jesus, we have to learn that from you. Yes, it's the only way. The light's interpretation is the only way. We're always trying to negotiate to have a better deal than light. Oh, so he's bringing it back to, so whenever we're trying to figure things out, it's trying to get a better deal than we already have as being infinite light beings. How is that possible to be more than we already are? But that's how consciousness plays. That's what I'm asking him. So figuring things out is always trying to finagle a better deal, which is impossible. You're going to be, he says, you're just going to be unhappy doing that. Thank you for the reminder, Jesus. Thank you for all your help with everything. Thank you for coming when I called. And thank you all for standing in the truth of who you are, divine being. Amen.